The Dinar Current, Unraveling the Financial Storm of September 2025. Introduction, A World on Edge. Welcome back to Dinar Current. The month of September 2025 has arrived with a sense of turbulence and urgency that few anticipated. The global financial system, already grappling with inflationary pressures, shifting trade dynamics, and mounting geopolitical polarization, has now been shaken by an unexpected revelation. Two currencies that were long relegated to the periphery of serious economic debate, the Iraqi dinar IQD and the Vietnamese dong VND, have suddenly found themselves at the very center of an extraordinary storm. What is unfolding is not the usual ebb and flow of foreign exchange markets, where small adjustments in value occur in response to policy shifts or commodity price swings. Instead, we may be witnessing the early stages of a profound structural transformation, one that could alter the balance of financial power for decades. At the heart of this disruption is an alleged leak of internal documents from Bank of America, suggesting a dramatic revaluation of both the IQD and the VND. According to the reports, the Iraqi dinar could soon trade at $7.90 per unit, while the Vietnamese dong might leap to $4.52 per unit. These figures, if confirmed, represent not merely adjustments but seismic changes, equivalent to redrawing the very foundations of global trade, debt, and currency systems. The mere suggestion of such a revaluation has already ignited intense debates, market speculation, and policy recalculations worldwide. But beyond the excitement lies a deeper question: is this truly the dawn of a financial realignment, or simply another wave of speculation amplified by rumor? The leak that shook the markets. The story began when multiple insider sources claimed to have obtained documents originating from Bank of America. These papers reportedly contained exchange rate forecasts so extreme that they immediately challenged existing assumptions about the stability and valuation of the IQD and VND. To put this into perspective, both currencies have long been viewed as minor players in the broader foreign exchange ecosystem. The Iraqi dinar, despite being backed by a country with vast oil reserves, has been burdened by decades of war, sanctions, and institutional weakness. The Vietnamese dong, though supported by Vietnam's impressive economic rise, has traditionally remained undervalued compared to global heavyweights like the US dollar, euro, or yuan. Yet here was a major Western bank, one of the largest in the world, projecting exchange rates that would catapult these fringe currencies into the global spotlight. Why the numbers matter? The projections, IQD at $7.90 and VND at $4.52, are not minor corrections. They represent historic leaps in value. To give context, the US dollar has long dominated global trade because of its relative stability. For the dinar or dong to suddenly trade at these rates would create winners and losers overnight, redistributing wealth, rebalancing portfolios, and disrupting supply chains. Holders of these currencies could find themselves in possession of life-changing fortunes. For governments, the new valuations would demand wholesale recalibration of fiscal, trade, and monetary strategies. The leak immediately triggered a flurry of online speculation. Currency forums lit up with debates, social media buzzed with bold predictions, and analysts scrambled to interpret the potential fallout. For longtime holders of IQD and VND, many of whom had patiently waited years for a revaluation, the leak felt like long-awaited vindication. For institutional investors, however, the leak represented a challenge. Was this credible, or a dangerous manipulation? Silence and speculation. The role of Iraq and Vietnam. One of the most striking aspects of the leak is the silence from both Iraq and Vietnam. Neither Baghdad nor Hanoi has issued clarifying statements, leaving markets to speculate in the absence of hard facts. This silence is fueling a wave of conspiracy theories. Some argue that both governments are deliberately withholding confirmation to prepare their financial systems. Others believe that denying the leak might provoke panic, while confirming it could unleash uncontrollable speculation. There is also the possibility that both governments themselves were blindsided and are now struggling to craft an appropriate response. Whatever the truth, this ambiguity has intensified global focus on both nations. Policymakers in Europe, Asia, and North America are now pressuring Iraq and Vietnam to clarify their positions before instability spreads further. The U.S. Treasury connection. Perhaps the most controversial element of the story is the rumored involvement of the U.S. Treasury. Normally, commercial bank projections can be dismissed as speculation. But insiders claim that the U.S. government may be quietly supporting, or even coordinating, this revaluation as part of a broader strategic plan. Why would Washington care? The U.S. dollar remains the world's reserve currency, but its dominance is under increasing pressure. The trend of de-dollarization, where nations reduce their reliance on the dollar for international trade, has been gaining momentum. Countries such as China, Russia, and even members of the BRICS alliance are actively seeking alternatives. Against this backdrop, Washington may see value in elevating Iraq and Vietnam. Iraq, with its massive oil reserves, could anchor energy trade in a stronger dinar, reinforcing U.S. influence in energy markets. Vietnam, as a fast-rising manufacturing hub, could become a counterweight to China in Asian trade. If the U.S. Treasury is indeed involved, this story transforms from speculative finance to deliberate geopolitics. A revaluation of this magnitude would represent not just a market adjustment but a strategic realignment of global power. Economic foundations. Why Iraq and Vietnam matter. Iraq's rebuilding effort. For years, Iraq's economy has been defined by conflict and instability. But in recent times, the country has embarked on a massive rebuilding program. Its central bank has been modernizing financial infrastructure, introducing digital systems to meet international transparency standards. Oil exports, Iraq's economic lifeblood, have surged, allowing the nation to build up foreign currency reserves. Inflation, once a persistent drag, is now being targeted through structural reforms aimed at stabilizing prices and strengthening the dinar's credibility. While Iraq's challenges remain significant, its progress suggests that the dinar is no longer the fragile currency it once was. Vietnam's economic rise. Vietnam's story could not be more different, yet equally compelling. Over the past decade, it has become a manufacturing powerhouse. Global giants like Apple, Samsung, and Intel have moved major portions of their supply chains into Vietnam, drawn by low costs, political stability, and its strategic location in Southeast Asia. This surge in foreign direct investment (FDI) has transformed Vietnam into a critical link in global trade. Its consistent economic growth, rising exports, and increasing integration into global markets suggest that the dong's current value may understate the country's true economic strength. The global ripple effects. If the leaked projections prove accurate, the consequences will be far-reaching. 1. Surge of foreign investment. Iraq and Vietnam could see unprecedented inflows of capital as investors rushed to participate in the newly valued economies. Hedge funds, corporations, and even sovereign wealth funds would pivot toward opportunities in both countries. 2. Restructuring of portfolios. Global investors would need to reallocate wealth, moving away from overvalued currencies and stagnant markets into the dinar and dong. This would trigger a redistribution of capital across financial markets. 3. Impact on trade and debt. A stronger dinar or dong would alter export competitiveness. Importers could face higher costs, while exporters might lose their price advantage. For nations holding debt denominated in these currencies, repayment structures could shift dramatically. 4. Volatility in markets. Currency markets thrive on stability. A sudden, historic revaluation would introduce volatility unseen in decades. Governments and corporations alike would need to scramble to adapt. Risks for individual holders. For private holders of IQD and VND, the temptation to act quickly is enormous. After all, the prospect of an overnight windfall is rare. But experts caution against impulsive decisions. Tax liabilities. Sudden gains can create significant tax obligations. Without careful planning, what seems like profit could quickly become a financial burden. Banking policies. In the event of a revaluation, banks will likely implement new regulations and require strict documentation. Holders will need proof of purchase and clear exchange procedures. Market volatility. In the immediate aftermath, prices could swing wildly. Emotional decisions in such an environment can erase potential gains. The message is clear: patience, discipline, and professional advice are essential. Indicators to watch. For those tracking this unfolding saga, 3 key indicators will signal whether this is reality or rumor. 1. Official announcements. Any statement from Bank of America, the U.S. Treasury, or the central banks of Iraq and Vietnam will instantly set the market's direction. 2. Policy reforms, currency revaluations of this scale rarely happen in isolation. Watch for new trade agreements, banking reforms, or regulatory shifts. 3. Market behavior, exchange rate movements, trading volumes, and institutional commentary will reveal whether global finance is preparing for a paradigm shift toward a new currency system. Some analysts suggest that the IQD and VND revaluation could mark the beginning of a broader transformation. For decades, the global system has revolved around the US dollar. But as emerging economies rise, a more diversified, multipolar currency system may be taking shape. Such a change aligns with the ambitions of blocs like BRICS, which have long sought alternatives to Western-dominated financial institutions. A stronger dinar and dong could therefore become part of a larger trend toward balance and diversity in global finance. Conclusion: a defining moment in modern finance. Whether the leaked figures are validated or debunked, the fact remains, the conversation has shifted. The Iraqi dinar and Vietnamese dong, once niche interests, are now central to discussions about the future of global economics. If confirmed, the revaluation would mark one of the most significant financial events in modern history, reshaping trade, investment, and geopolitical power. If dismissed, it will still be remembered as a moment when the possibility of structural change forced the world to confront its reliance on a fragile system. For now, vigilance is key. The world waits for clarity. And in that waiting, one truth emerges: the balance of global finance may be on the verge of transformation.